Hello, I'm Robert Ashley. We welcome you to the Mighty Media GFN News Update. Now, also be sure to check us out on our social media platforms. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs won Super Bowl 57 in a thrilling 38-35 game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, this was a history-making game during Black History Month, where for the first time we had two black quarterbacks squaring off in action. Now, this high-powered offense on both sides of the field and a display of black quarterback star power on both sides of the field is what many were watching. And of course, it was a great game. But ultimately, the MVP, Patrick Mahomes, rallied the Kansas City Chiefs to that 38-35 win. And of course, it was a big Super Bowl victory. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs actually won the Super Bowl back in 2020 and then reached the title game in 2021. Some are wondering if indeed this was a dynasty like the Dallas Cowboys or the Green Bay Packers. But despite the tough loss for the Philadelphia Eagles, their quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was brilliant, rushing for a Super Bowl quarterback record of 3 touchdowns and 70 yards, if you will. It was perhaps the biggest day in sports. Now, also, the halftime show was very memorable as Rihanna dazzled in a 13-minute performance of her greatest hits. Now, after she performed and kind of wowed the crowd, we also learned that Rihanna is indeed expecting another child with her husband, A$AP Rocky. But we say congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Super Bowl game, history-making a Super Bowl during this Black History Month. Well, U.S. fighter jets shot down unidentified objects? What? Now, would that be equivalent to UFOs? But then again, once again, U.S. fighter jets shot down unidentified objects floating over Lake Huron on Sunday and then the northern Yucatan on Saturday, basically following the downing of another car-sized object over the Alaskan airspace back on Friday. Now, officials are working to recover these objects and gather more information as to where they came from, their origin, and their purpose, even though U.S. officials believe these unidentified objects likely were for surveillance. But where'd they come from? Hopefully, this is not some sort of a UFO situation here, but then again, we just never know. Now, U.S. fighter jets have now taken down 4 objects in North American airspace over the last 8 days, including this larger Chinese spy balloon off the South Carolina coast, which began the saga of these flying objects. Now, another spy balloon was found floating over Latin America last week before it left the continent's airspace. China has claimed responsibility for both balloons, maintaining the aircrafts were meant to monitor the weather, but U.S. officials are somewhat suspicious of China's and their nature of spying. Well, once again, you're listening to the Mighty Media GFN News Update. I'm Robert Ashley. Well, there's been another situation involving police and resulting in the death of a black man. Now, of course, many here in the nation are still trying to cope with the Tyre Nichols situation out of Memphis, Tennessee. Now, here's another situation. 6 North Carolina police officers, mostly white, have been put on leave after a video showed the deadly tasing of a black man who had complained of heart problems. 32-year-old Daryl Tyree Williams died in Raleigh, North Carolina in a hospital back on January 17th after the police officers tased him multiple times during an attempted arrest for alleged drug possession, that according to the New York Post. Now,
it starts with officers approaching cars in the Supreme Sweepstakes parking lot before they approach a man appearing to have been a passenger in Daryl Williams' car.
What's going on?
Within moments, police approach 32-year-old Daryl Williams near his vehicle.
Keep both of your hands on the car. If you can't listen to my instructions, I'm going to put you in handcuffs.
Officers start checking Williams' pockets when they find a dollar bill with a white powdery substance. Within moments, Williams bolts from officers. A long, intense struggle with officers ensues, and the first taser is deployed. You can hear that first taser go off and see it in the officer's hands.
Hands behind your back now.
With Williams on the ground, officers then surround him.
Yo, come get him.
Put your hands behind your back.
It's him.
Put your hand behind your back.
You can hear during that long struggle, Williams cry out that he has a heart condition.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back now. 3, 2, 1.
As Williams is on the ground for close to 5 minutes surrounded by officers,
Hey, Bo. Hey, Bo, wake up.
you can see at least one taser probe in his bare back. After being shocked 3 times, Williams is motionless.
I don't think I feel a pulse. I can't get one. Let's get CPR.
For several minutes, officers try CPR on Williams. He was pronounced dead at a hospital an hour later.
An area that said they've had a history of high crime and a lot of violations there. Now, police say they spotted Williams in the vehicle with marijuana and an open container of alcohol and a controlled substance. Now, reports are indicating that when Williams was forced to the ground, placed on the ground, they continued to ask him to put his hands behind his back. The video shows that he may or may not have complied, but they repeatedly tased him, and Williams was heard saying, "I've got heart problems," but eventually they tased him, and he reportedly died right there at the scene. And you can see in this video where police began to realize what had happened, and of course they call for medical assistance. But once again, the investigation continues. The NAACP very much involved, and now many are watching and wondering, did this have to happen? Now, just because he may have had possession of marijuana and all these type of drugs and alcohol, should it have led to his death? 32-year-old Daryl Tyree Williams. Will continue following this story out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Well, you've been listening to the Mighty Media GFN News Update. I'm Robert Ashley.